Okay ji. So here is the outcomes for today's lecture, in which we will strive to again recap of the concept of functions with couple of examples, and then we move on to further concepts associated with the variables which are involved in functions, which we declare inside the functions. We have called those are local variables of that particular function. How much they are staying in the memory, we haven't thought in that perspective actually. When variable is entering a function, it is created. When variable is leaving the function, is it there or not? When we again call the function, so are the variables are recreated and then destroyed? And if we are calling the function multiple times, so what is happening in the background? Variables are recreated and destroyed, or they are staying in the memory? So these are the concepts which we have to clarify in this programming paradigm of storage and scope of variables. And then we will see, if we have time, how to pass variables to a function. How many ways are there to pass a function? Pass a function's a particular data. Input arguments, how we are going to pass to a particular function. What are the means and ways? Actually, there are two type of ways by which we can pass variables to the defining functions. Because we have some limitations, if we have called or defined a user defined function, it can only return a single value. We can use return only once. ये हमें पता होना चाहिए. Because previously we have studied functions, we are going to recap the concept as well, but we have used the keyword return. It can only return a single value. What if we want to return more than one values? What if we want to update the complete array of data? Isn't it? So we need to seek some methodology by which we can return more than one value from the function. By default, it is just a single value which we can return at the moment. So we have to look into this, that what could be the methods by which we can have, we want to return more than one value back to the boss function or the main function. So as previously, ये देख लें जी, हमने लास्ट टाइम, अगर आपने मिस भी किया है लास्ट टाइम को लेक्चर, तो हम जस्ट उसको रिकैप कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर. ये एट द टॉप ऑफ द लाइन, दैट एट द लाइन नंबर 8, टॉप ऑफ द पेज, ये क्या चीज है जी? व्हाट इज दिस? Prototype or function declaration. You are writing the compiler, no, I am going to create a function square which will accept an integer, which will return an integer. So writing variables in the prototype or declaration is optional. It is not mandatory. But writing the data type is mandatory. Then you have started the main, you have deployed the loop that I want to find square of numbers from 1 to 10. We have just called the function square once for variable. When the value is 1, when the value becomes 2, it will be called again. Just consider power function written over here. The same concept. If you want to use a library function inside a loop, it will be called that much number of times. Likewise, we are using square function and we want to call this function 10 number of times from 1 to 10 by giving the input of the respective value. So square of 1 is less than 10, true. From this point, line number 15, our control will jump to the definition of this function, which is after the main. So here we have the definition starting from line number 24 till line number 28. So square of x, the value of x, which is 1, it is received by a receiving variable y over here. So 1. So we created a copy of 1 and passed it to y. So whatever happens to the copy, it will not affect the original data. Just like I have quoted the example, if you have the book of programming or any other subject, you want to share it with your friend, you make the copy of the book and give it to the friend. So if the friend is reading and making changes on the book, your original is saved. So same is the case over here. Copy of this data goes over here, received by Y. Now Y has the data 1 plus 1. Your task is accomplished. Even you are not updating Y, you are just returning 1. It will go back to line number 15 and display the result, which is 1. So after displaying 1, control goes to the increment, x plus plus, x becomes 2, 2 is less than 10, square of 2. Now the updated values are x is 2 and y is also 2. Received by this y, value of x, y cross y, 4, return 4, display 4. Actual values are still 2. Same goes for 3, 4, 5, 6. So squares are being displayed. If you want to say that I want to update the original, so at line number 15, you should just equate x equals to square of x. So whatever the value is, x will be updated by this way. In the definition, you say I want to update value of y. So y equals to y cross y. And then you may write return y. This is how we can update the values. So we have discussed it in quite a length in the previous lecture as well. So now let's have a look at the home task I have given. What was the task which you have written as well? क्या task था जी? Last time मैंने लिखवाया था, वो बता ही दें. वो तो एरे का था. फंक्शन में मैंने एक लास्ट टाइम आपको एक टास्क दिया था. आपको दिया था जी. ये टास्क था जी. इफ यू कैन रिकॉल, you have to prompt the user to take 3 double numbers. You have to send it to a function and find the maximum. और maximum जो है वो भी एक डबल नंबर होगा, and that should be displayed in the main. तो अगर आपने किया है तो you can just correlate it, your concept. तो अगर नहीं किया तो इसको हम एज ए क्लास टास्क कभी इसको accomplish करते हैं. So you want to find the maximum. So the name of the function states that I will be creating a function named maximum, which will take 3 doubles in a comma separated list. Double, 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 without declaring the variables. Just let the compiler know the data type you are going to send. I will compute the maximum out of these doubles. That maximum number shall have the same data type, double, isn't it? Yes. So in return type I have written double. So this is how a function has been declared. Now inside main I am declaring variables which I have to take input from the user. I am prompting the user to give me the input, and then I am calling the function just by writing name of the function and giving the required input. So main is very much simplified, isn't it? We haven't done any programming complexity in the main. All of the complexity of the maximum function, its definition is outside the main. So over here, let's suppose number 1, number 2, number 3. Let's suppose you are sending these numbers 10, 7, 30. Let's suppose number 1, number 2, number 3. From here, line number 23, the control will go to definition of this function. So here is the definition after the main. डेफिनेशन का आप सिंटेक्स देख लें उसी तरह जिस तरह आप डिक्लेयर करते हैं. double maximum, double up variable, we have to write the variable over here. These are the recipients of the data which is sent from the main. Mains आपने क्या data sent किए? Number 1, 2 and 3 respectively, they will be received by the receiving variables x, y and z respectively in the same order. So what are the values of x, y and z at the moment? 10, 7 and 13. So you have the data with you in the function. Now find the maximum with this data x, y and z. Now it's your own logic. It's your own portion of the program, how you find the maximum. So we have deployed the logic. One of the logics could be, we have declared a variable max and assigned it to the value x. Our max to compare करने with y and z. So if y is greater than max, true or false? With this data? False. Leave it. If z is greater than max, true. Max की वैल्यू, z की वैल्यू मैक्सिमम. अपडेट होगी, रिटर्न क्या वैल्यू रिटर्न होगी? 30. डबल नंबर से 0.0 लेट्स से कोई तो 13.0 आपका रिटर्न हुआ यहाँ से और कॉलिंग फंक्शन में डिस्प्ले हो. ये आपकी सिंपल लॉजिक. इसमें कोई भी नंबर वी कैन have the values as these are variables, it will work for any of these values. क्योंकि everyone clear? समझ आ रहा है आपको functions? अब थोड़ा implement करना आपने start किए होंगे तो आपने देखा होगा it is a very interesting concept actually. It will taking your complexity out from the main और वो once written code आपका बार बार चलता है. It could be this much. We have started from y cross y and we repeated it 10 number of times. Now you can see the length of code is increasing as per our requirement. So you don't have to write this much of code time and time again to find the maximum because you have fixed it, standardized it. तो इसको अगर हम रन करें so it is like this. Enter 3 floating point numbers. User has entered the numbers and it is displaying the maximum. वो हमने खुद किया. इसको आप डू वाइल लूप में लगा लें पूरे फंक्शन को और डू वाइल में आप जो भी कोड किए करें उसको डू वाइल में अप्लाई कर दिया करें. डू के अंदर सारा कोड लिख के आखिर में वाइल डू यू वांट टू कंटिन्यू यस और नो एन नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स वही कोड चलता रहेगा. ठीक. लेकिन फॉर का ये ना कि पहली दफा आपको कंडीशन नहीं मिलेगी ना. डू वाइल में फर्स्ट टाइम तो चल गया, उसके बाद वो ऑप्शन पूछेगा यस और नो. यस करेंगे तो एन नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स उसे चलाते हैं. मेन में आपका कंट्रोल आएगा. डू से आपका प्रोग्राम स्टार्ट हो गया. डू आपने लिख दिया सारा कोड जो है ना. अब अगर हम बैक पे जाएं, एक मिनट मैं आपको ये बता रहा हूं. लाइन नंबर 13 पे आप डू लिख दें. ठीक है. डू वाइल की एग्जांपल रिकॉल कर सकते हैं. Let me show you that typical example of do while. Just to answer the query, where it is required, you can apply do. You have taken the variables inside main. You want to find the averages. Close it over here. After running the first time, it will check whether you have answered yes or no. If you have answered in yes, means y capital or small y. If it is true, true means execute it again. Again y, execute it again. N number of times. No limit. If it is n, do not execute. So coming back to the point, we were computing the averages. The maximum of these 3 numbers. तो इसमें आप देख सकते हैं इसको आप n नंबर ऑफ टाइम चला सकते हैं दोबारा से एंड इट विल कंप्यूट द एवरेजेस कंप्यूट द मैक्सिमम ऑफ द 3 डबल नंबर्स फॉर द यूजर. Over here you will never have the feel as a user that whether you are implementing in a function or in the main only, isn't it? ये आपके प्रोग्रामर एंड की एफिशिएंसी है कोड की. एज अ यूजर इट इज नॉट द यूजर्स हेडेक, ठीक है ना, कि आप मेन में करें. यूजर वांट्स समथिंग टू बी हैपनिंग इन मिनिमम नंबर अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम, एंड ऑफ कोर्स विद द एक्यूरेसी ऑफ द रिजल्ट्स. दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन योर लॉजिक. अच्छा, let's suppose in the same example you have created a function max with three variables x, y and z. What are these variables formally called? x, y और z को हम क्या कह सकते हैं जी formally? x, y and z are local variables of function maximum. So x, y and z are local. As the control enters the block of maximum function, x, y and z are there. Let's say create हुए. What is the storage concept? Okay, ये create हो x, y. Whenever control leaves the block for the main, you have executed it. Now you are leaving this, going back to the main. What is the state of these variables in the memory? Are they staying in the memory with the current values? Let's suppose 10, 7 and 13. Control enters the block, the variables are created. Control leaves the block, the variables are destroyed. It's a property, automatic property. Implicitly, automatically the variables are created and they are destroyed. Every time you enter the block, the variables are created. Every time you leave the block, the variables are destroyed. ये एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये आपने देखना है. और इसी से रिलेटेड अब आगे ये लिंक हो रही है चीज कि स्टोरेज क्लासेस. स्टोरेज क्लासेस मीन्स concept of storage for the variables. Have name, size, type when value. ये हमें पता है, every variable is associated with these things, certain name, size, type, value. Now there is another attribute we are appending today, and that is its storage time. How much a variable is staying in the memory, and that is called storage class. How long variable exists in the memory. So by looking at this, we come to know whenever the variable enters the block, the variables are created. Whenever control leaves the block, the variables are destroyed. And one another thing, that in main you have also created a variable, let's say a. What is the where a can be referenced? A कहाँ जाना चाहता है? Last time मैंने आपको बताया. It is only known inside main. X, Y and Z are only known inside max. So they are separate from each other, means where variable can be referenced. So what is the scope of X, Y and Z? Function scope. And the function name is? What is the scope of variable A? Main. Main function. It is only known inside A. So this is actually the scope of variable. Where variable can be referenced, where variable can be assessed for reading or writing. Outside these domains, outside these confines, the variable is unknown. And then of course the property, if we are linking multiple files together, for example we have included the header files as well. So how the linking actually comes up, it actually the linker. In the very first lecture of programming, we discussed what are the phases in the background through which program passes through: pre-processing, linking, loading, executing. It's actually the linker's job to arrange multiple files and create the linkage among those files. And the concept which we have just discussed, whenever control enters the block, variables are created, and whenever the control leaves the block, the variables are destroyed. It is called automatic storage class. Means it is happening automatically. Now if we have a look at the statements, we can see in the book, variables created when program enters the block. अभी आपको बात क्लियर होगी? What is block? Function. Any block, any function definition. Variable destroyed when program leaves it. If you are again entering the same block, again the variable will be created. If you have left, it will be destroyed. It will be created the number of times you are calling that function. So that memory कि ये ना आप वेरिएबल कॉल करते जा रहे हैं और जब नाउ लीव कर रहे हैं तो वेरिएबल मेमोरी में स्टे कर रहे हैं. It will be a memory hack, isn't it? Memory तो आपको फुल हो जाएगी. Those variables should be destroyed because they are no more in use. Only local variable or function can be automatic. अब ये एक प्रॉपर्टी append की है. Automatic by default. क्या आपको कहीं ऑटो कीवर्ड लिखना पड़ता है? While creating X, Y or Z. So it is happening automatically. इसको अगर आप बुक के रेफरेंस से करें तो it is happening implicitly. Implicitly means automatically. So auto keyword explicitly we can write it as well, but actually it is happening automatically. But if we talk about the memory hierarchy, ये हमने एक लेक्चर में डिस्कस किया था कि which thing is closest to the central processing unit, which memory area? No, RAM is far away. Someone has answered correctly. Closest to CPU compartment is registers. Very small amount of memory area. Then comes cache. Then comes RAM. And then comes hard disk. Hard disk, RAM, these are actually the bottleneck for the speed of CPU. They are not in comparison with the CPU speed. So, mostly used words from memory are oftenly taken from RAM to the cache. Most often used words, most often used alphabets. ये बार-बार यूज होगा A और B. इसको RAM से आप पिक करें और कैश में लें, so that they will be readily available for CPU to process. So what if as a programmer, in which memory area you will want your variables to be stored? Ideally. So here is the technique to store a variable in a register. Just by writing register keyword, it will be stored closest to the CPU. But as a programmer, you also become greedy. Then why not you store every variable in a register? Often unnecessary, then compiler optimizes itself. पर वो compiler decide करेगा. अगर आप एक limit से ज़्यादा उसको cross करेंगे, तो normally what is the hint to store which type of variables in registers? ऐसा प्रोग्राम में generically speaking कौन सा वेरिएबल है जो कि हर वक्त अपडेट होते रहते हैं नॉर्मली? काउंटर, for loop का वेरिएबल I equal to 0, isn't it updating every iteration? So it's a hint to place counter variables, or the variables which are most oftenly updated should be stored in a compartment which is closest to the CPU, so that it will be readily available. आपका time in nanoseconds compute हो रहा है, वो भी waste नहीं होगा. So you can store any variable in register keyword. तो ये इसके साथ एक चीज थी. अच्छा, एक और क्वेश्चन आपने नहीं किया कि let's suppose वेरिएबल क्रिएट हुआ x, उसकी वैल्यू हुई 10, आप फंक्शन में एंटर हुए, x क्रिएट हुआ, x अपडेट हो गया 10 से, लीव हो गया, डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया. व्हाट इफ आप कहते हैं नेक्स्ट टाइम फंक्शन डालो ये 10 से आगे स्टार्ट करें, you destroy now. क्वेश्चन सुन लें सम. Normally it's the property whenever control enters the block, the variable is created. Create हो गई, update हो गई. Whenever you are leaving the block, it is destroyed. What if you want next time I enter this function, it should start from 10 instead of creating it again and again? ये आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट हो सकती है कि वेरिएबल डिस्ट्रॉय ना हो, इन सिंपल वर्ड्स ये स्टे करें मेमोरी में. So if you want a variable to stay in the memory, you normally declare x like this. If you want it to stay in the memory, you just have to append it with the keyword static. That's it. If you write the keyword static, the program in the definition of this function, the variable will be created, but it will not be destroyed when you leave the block. Whenever you next time enters the block, variable will be there. You don't have to recreate it. So it is the property called static. ये जितने हम थ्योरी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उसको सबको हम समराइज करेंगे एक प्रोग्राम में. ऑटोमेटिक, स्टैटिक, लोकल, ग्लोबल. व्हाट इफ इन तमाम फंक्शंस में वेरिएबल का नाम एक्स ही हो. वो क्यूरी होती है ना कि मेन में अगर एक्स वेरिएबल है या ए है तो फंक्शन 1 में भी अगर ए यूज हो जाए, बी में भी ए यूज हो जाए, तो किस वक्त किस वेरिएबल को कॉल करें, कौन सा एसेस होगा. लोकल भी सारे एक नाम के वेरिएबल है, लेट्स से ए, और ग्लोबल जो टॉप पे वेरिएबल है जिसको हम अभी डिफाइन करेंगे उसका नाम भी यही है. तो अगर हम मेन में सी आउट करेंगे तो कौन सा ए एसेस होगा, मेन वाला, लोकल वाला, ग्लोबल वाला या फंक्शंस वाला. तो इस सब का आंसर हम एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्रोग्राम में फाइंड करने की कोशिश करेंगे इन टुडेज लेक्चर आफ्टर द ब्रेक. तो सिर्फ स्टैटिक का देख लें. स्टैटिक क्या होती है? लोकल वेरिएबल्स के साथ अगर हम स्टैटिक लगा दें, कीप्स द वैल्यू बिटवीन फंक्शन कॉल्स, रिटेन स्टेट. कंप्यूटर में जी, कंप्यूटर में इसको कहते हैं डीएलडी, वो जो फंक्शनैलिटी है इट कीप्स द स्टेट, मींस वो डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं. आप 10 पे से छोड़ के जा रहे हैं तो वापस आएंगे, इसकी वैल्यू होगी 10. सिंपल वर्ड. ओनली नोट. क्या इसको स्टैटिक बनाने से क्या इस लाइन पे कोई फर्क पड़ा? ये बताएं. व्हाट दिस लाइन इज इंडिकेटिंग. अभी मैंने बताया कि ये एक्स वेरिएबल का स्कोप है, वेयर एक्स कैन बी असेस्ड. बाय मेकिंग इट स्टैटिक, it will not affect scope. Scope is still the same. It is affecting the storage duration. Storage duration आपने बढ़ा दी है. It doesn't mean that x is now known outside these boundaries. No. By keeping it static, it's still only known in the variable. External keyword ये normally हम global variable के साथ use करते हैं. ये last time हमने पढ़ा था global. ग्लोबल वो है जी, और जो आप ऐसा वेरिएबल जो आप मेन से भी टॉप पे यहां पर डिक्लेयर कर दें. ग्लोबल वेरिएबल इज x इक्वल्स टू 20. इसका क्या स्कोप है? इसका स्कोप फाइल स्कोप. एक लोकल वेरिएबल का स्कोप क्या होता है? फंक्शन स्कोप, डिफाइनिंग फंक्शन. ग्लोबल वेरिएबल का स्कोप क्या होता है? फाइल स्कोप, प्रोग्राम स्कोप, कंप्लीट प्रोग्राम. यू कैन असेस दैट वेरिएबल एनीवेयर, जस्ट लाइक अ लोकल सेलिब्रिटी एंड अ ग्लोबल सेलिब्रिटी. ठीक है, उसको सब जानते हैं, लोकल बंदे को विसिनिटी में लोग जानते हैं. ठीक, अगेन रियल वर्ड एग्जांपल. ठीक, रियल वर्ड के साथ कंपेयर करते रहे, आपको ये सारी चीजें समझ आती रहेगी. इस ये जो वेरिएबल है इट इज नोन anywhere. It can be assessed, it can be changed, anything. And this x is a local variable. By keep making it static, we are enhancing actually the storage duration. अब इन सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स को हम एक फंक्शन के अंदर समराइज कर देंगे, एक प्रोग्राम के अंदर. ठीक है, तो वो हम आफ्टर द ब्रेक कर दें, तो इंशाल्लाह जो हमें समझ आएगा जी कॉन्सेप्ट. अगर किसी ने टॉपिक मिस भी किया फंक्शन का तो वो अभी भी समझ सकते हैं. सारी एग्जांपल्स हैं फंक्शन में, किस तरह पासिंग हो रही है, किस तरह रिटर्निंग हो रही है. अटेंडेंस आगे होगी जी, जो लास्ट टाइम नहीं आए वो भी मैं चेक बता देंगे मुझे.